the Dreamweaver's grasp. In the shadowed corners of an ancient forest, where the trees whispered secrets and the air hung heavy with foreboding, there dwelt a malevolent entity known only as the Dreamweaver. It was said that this demon fed on the dreams and desires of those unfortunate enough to cross its path, weaving a web of deceit that ensnared its victims, leading them inexorably to their doom. One fateful night, a weary traveler named Samuel stumbled upon the forest, unaware of the malevolence that lay hidden within its depths. His heart was heavy with the weight of his unfulfilled desires, and the Dreamweaver sensed his vulnerability, hungrily licking its spectral lips. That night, as Samuel slept, he found himself in a vivid dreamscape, where his deepest yearnings materialized before him. He walked through a world where his every wish was granted, his ambitions fulfilled, and his heart's desires met. The Dreamweaver watched from the shadows, its eyes gleaming with malevolence. As the days passed, Samuel became ensnared within the Dreamweaver's carefully crafted illusion. He reveled in his newfound success, oblivious to the insidious strings that bound him. The forest itself seemed to wrap and contort, mirroring his descent into the clutches of the demon. As time wore on, Samuel's once vibrant spirit began to wither. The dreams that once brought him joy turned nightmarish, twisting into grotesque parodies of his desires. He saw the faces of loved ones contorted in agony, heard their anguished cries, and felt the suffocating weight of regret. Desperation gnawed at Samuel's soul, and he knew he must break free from the Dreamweaver's malevolent grasp. With every ounce of his remaining strength, he ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, determined to confront the demon that stole his life. In the darkest heart of the woods, Samuel finally came face to face with the Dreamweaver. It stood tall, unopposing, its form ever-shifting and nightmarish. Its eyes gleamed with a predatory hunger that sent shivers down Samuel's spine. "You feasted on my dreams long enough, fiend," Samuel declared, his voice trembling with both fear and defiance. The Dreamweaver chuckled, a sound that echoed like the distant wails of tormented souls. "You are mine, Samuel. Your desires are mine to devour." Summoning the last vestiges of his strength, Samuel reached deep within himself, finding a flicker of resolve that had eluded him for far too long. He focused on the love he held for those he had lost, and with a final, desperate surge of determination, he banished the Dreamweaver from his mind. The forest convulsed, shaking with the force of the demon's expulsion. Samuel emerged, battered but victorious, from the haunted woods, leaving the Dreamweaver's malevolence behind. From that day forward, Samuel carried the scars of his ordeal, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked in the shadows of desire. He vowed to cherish the reality that awaited him beyond the twisted illusions of the Dreamweaver, and to guard his heart against its insidious influence. But the memory of that malevolent entity would forever haunt him, a chilling reminder that even the deepest desires could be twisted into a nightmare by the cunning touch of a demon's hand. The haunting of Hollowbrook Manor. In the heart of the old town of Hollowbrook there stood a decrepit manor shrouded in legend and fear. Locals whispered of the ghost that dwelled within its rotting walls, a vengeful spirit known as the Matron. It was said that she targeted disobedient children, punishing them for their wayward behavior. One moonless night, young Emily, a headstrong and willful girl, dared her friends to venture into the manor. Ignoring their warnings, she crossed their threshold, determined to prove her bravery. The air grew thick and oppressive as they explored their forsaken halls, their footsteps echoing like the mournful cries of lost souls. In a forgotten room, Emily stumbled upon a dusty, weathered journal. Its pages spoke of the Matron, a stern disciplinarian in life, who had met a tragic end within these very walls. The legend claimed that her restless spirit now sought to discipline the unruly children of Hollowbrook, ensuring they learned their lesson in the most terrifying manner. As the clock struck midnight, a bone-chilling wind howled through the manor. Extinguishing their lanterns, panic set in as the children fumbled in the dark, trying to find their way out. Then, from the shadows, a spectral figure emerged. The Matron stood before them, her eyes hollow and her presence suffused with an icy malevolence. Her voice, a raspy whisper, echoed through the halls, chilling their hearts. Disobedient children, you shall face the consequences of your actions. With a wave of her ethereal hand, Emily's friends were frozen in place, unable to flee. Emily alone remained unfazed, her defiance shining through her trembling form. You can't scare me, Emily spat, her voice quivering but resolute. The Matron's laughter echoed, a haunting sound that seemed to emanate from the very walls. You shall see, young one. And in the moments that followed, Emily was subjected to a nightmarish ordeal. The manor itself seemed to come alive, its warped corridors shifting and contorting, leading her through a ghastly maze of horrors. She encountered apparitions of disobedient children, forever trapped in their nightmarish fate. Hours felt like an eternity, until Emily emerged, battered and shaken. From the manor, the Matron's vengeful presence faded, leaving the children free. Word of Emily's harrowing experience spread through the Hollowbrook, serving as a chilling reminder of the Matron's relentless pursuit of justice. From that day forth, children dared not to disobey, for the spectre of the manor loomed large in their nightmares. Emily, forever changed by her encounter, carried the weight of that night with her, constant reminder that disobedience came at a price. The haunting echoes of the Matron's laughter would forever linger in the recesses of her memory, a haunting testament to the terrifying consequences of crossing the line. The Whispering Pines. Once, in the heart of a dense, ancient forest, there stood a cabin. Its timbers groaned under the weight of years, and shadows clung to its walls like dark memories. This forsaken place was known to locals as the Whispering Pines Cabin, a name earned for the eerie sighs that echoed through the trees. Emma, a young woman with an adventurous spirit, heard tales of the cabin's haunting history. Undeterred by warnings from villagers, she decided to spend a weekend alone within its walls. Ignoring the chill that ran down her spine, she set out at dusk, the darkening forest swallowing her path. As night fell, Emma arrived at the cabin. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the wind's mournful wail. Igniting the lantern, she pushed open the creaking door. revealing a room shrouded in gloom. With each passing hour, the cabin seemed to come alive. Floorboards creaked as if bearing witness to ghosts, and the walls pulsed with unseen presence. Emma dismissed it all as mere imagination, trying to convince herself that fear was a foolish companion. Then, as the clock struck midnight, she heard it, the faintest whisper, like leaves brushing against one another in a secret conversation. Emma's heart quickened, her breath hitched, but she refused to be cowed by mere shadows. In the depths of night, strange things began to happen. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, and unseen fingers grazed her skin. The forest beyond the window seemed to shift, its trees warping into monstrous shapes. Emma's courage waned, but she clung to her resolve. The hours dragged on, each minute stretching into eternity. Suddenly, a guttural moan echoed through the cabin, causing Emma to leap from her chair. Her lantern trembling in her hand, she felt a presence. A malevolent and suffocating presence, as if the very air had turned into hostile. In a frenzied panic, Emma searched for an escape, but the door had sealed itself shut, as if the cabin itself refused to release her. The walls seemed to close in, the shadows swallowing her whole. Desperation clawed at her as the whispers grew louder, forming unintelligible words that seemed to seep into her very soul. With the final surge of courage, Emma made for the window, hurling it open and throwing herself into the cold, unforgiving night. She stumbled through the forest, guided only by the pale light of the moon. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Emma burst through the tree line, collapsing onto the forest floor. She dared not to look back, for fear of what lurked in these woods. In the aftermath, Emma could never erase the memory of Whispering Pines cabin. From her mind, its haunted halls, a malevolent presence haunted her dreams, a constant reminder of the terror she had endured. And so, the legend of the cabin persisted, whispered in hushed tones around campfires none would ever near. For they knew that within its walls something dark and ancient waited, hungry for those brave or foolish enough to seek its secrets. Hollow Hill. Once nestled at the edge of a gnarled forest, stood a mansion known as Hollow Hill. Its ebon facade loomed over the landscape, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out for any unsuspecting soul that dared approach. The Henderson family, oblivious to the sinister reputation that shrouded the house, arrived on a gloomy October evening. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, with their 2 young children, Emily and Tommy, were seeking a fresh start in a new town. As they entered the mansion, a shiver ran down their spines. The walls bore faded wallpaper, peeling like old scabs, and the floorboards groaned beneath their feet as if sighing with every step. That first night, strange noises echoed through the walls. Whispers danced on the fringes of their hearing, teasing at the edges of their sanity. Emily swore she saw a shadowy figure at the end of the hallway, its hollow eyes gazing through her soul. Days passed, and the family's unease grew. Objects moved on their own, doors creaked in the open in the dead of night, and icy drafts seemed to materialize from nowhere. Tommy's once infectious laughter became a rarity, replaced by fearful glances and haunted eyes. One evening, as Mrs. Henderson prepared dinner, she heard a mournful wail emanating from the attic. She ascended the creaking stairs, her trembling hand grasping the rail. The door to the attic swung open, revealing a room shrouded in darkness. In the center, a decrepit rocking chair swayed gently, its rhythm matching the beats of her pounding heart. She could almost make out the figure, hunched and wailing, but when she blinked, it was gone. Dread settled like a fog over the Henderson, suffocating any remnants of hope. The children's laughter became distant memories replaced by the cries of fear in the night. They began to see apparitions in every corner, their ghastly forms mocking the family desperate attempts to escape. One fateful night, unable to bear the torment any longer, Mr. Henderson ventured into the attic, determined to confront the malevolent force that had taken hold of their lives. The room was colder than a winter's breath, and the air hung heavy with foreboding. He saw her, a spectral figure, swathed in sorrow, her eyes empty yet pleading. With a voice that seemed to rise from the depths of the abyss, she spoke, recounting her tragic tale. She had been trapped within Hollow Hill, a prisoner of its malevolence, longing for release. Her anguish had tainted the very foundation of the house, festering in every corner. Moved by compassion, Mr. Henderson vowed to set her free. Together they unearthed an ancient relic buried beneath the roots of a gnarled oak in the forest. With trembling hands, he placed it upon the mantel in the attic. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the veil of darkness, the mansion seemed to exhale a sigh of relief. The air cleared, and the weight that had burned in their Hendersons for so long lifted. From that day forward, the house on Hollow Hill was empty no more. The family had gained an unexpected member, a spirit forever grateful for their compassion. And as the years passed, the tales of their haunting became a legend, whispered around campfires, a testament to the power of empathy in the face of unimaginable terror.